Hello there guys, Francis Gray here and welcome back to a brand new video build. And in today's video we are going to be making a diorama on my personal favourite movie monster scene of all time, which is Medusa's lair from the classic Clash of the Titans. I'll see you after this. Okay, so welcome back guys. So, I'm pretty sure we've all seen the classic movie Clash of the Titans, one of my personal favourites, and Medusa is my all-time favourite monster, purely because of the talents of the late and great Mr. Harryhausen, who modelled the stop motion on Medusa herself, as well as all the other characters, but for me personally, Medusa's my favourite. So yeah, diorama on Medusa is a long time overdue, so I'm glad to say that today we're pulling our finger out and we are cracking on. Okay, so in order to start this build off, we're going to start like we do all good decent dioramas, and we're going to start with a chunky piece of wood. So I bought this from B&Q and it was titled just a wooden shelf, and it didn't come with any brackets or anything like that, it was just as it is. And yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and use this as my base to build up around. So this is gonna later be displayed in a glass cabinet, so I've took some pre-measurements and I'm gonna go ahead and measure it now and cut it to shape. So the rough dimensions, in order for it to fit nicely, is 22 inches wide by 8.5 inches deep. So now that we know our measurements, we're going to go over to the circular saw and we're going to take our time and show much respect to this machine, because I don't really fancy losing any fingers today. And yeah, once it's nicely trimmed to size, we're going to take it out into the garden and I'm going to clamp it to a workbench, and we're going to get our router out, which same again, I'm going to show a lot of respect to this machine because I don't want to lose any fingers.
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
Okay, so for the next part, now I went out and I bought some of these. So you get 4 in a set. And I got this from the range in the UK. And it just titled 4 driftwood placemats. And as you can see here, they have this like stone effect. And obviously you can... they're supposed to be able to move, but we're going to go ahead and glue this nice and flat. So yeah, I think these are going to work great. Now I know if you're a fan of the film Clash of the Titans, you might be thinking to yourself, well, where Medusa fights Perseus, it's pretty much sand. But I think it's just like a top surface layer of sand, because otherwise you'd probably see Perseus trudging through sand like you would someone at the beach. So there's obviously some kind of hard surface down there, so I thought these would work fantastic as a baseline over the actual, well, base. So yeah, so let's go ahead and PVA glue these into place. Okay, to start this off, now these placemats, they have like longer rectangles on the sides, and that's going to knock everything out of whack because we need these to be like similar bricks. So they're going to be overlaid like you would like normal brickwork, so they're kind of like overlapping, if you know what I mean. So in order to do this, I'm going to have to go in and cut the stringy bits holding these mats together to make them flexible, and then free them up as actual individual bricks. And then we can go ahead and add some PVA glue, and then we can start sticking these down.
What follows is a brief construction montage. We hope you enjoyed this brief construction montage.
So after leaving the PVA glue a couple of days to fully cure, for the next stage we need to go ahead and we need to seal these in place. So we need to add like basically what you would have with the mortar with brickwork. So in order to do that we need something that sets rock hard but is as basically as runny as water. So plaster of Paris it's got to be, so I'm just going to go ahead and mix a nice mixture and then just spread it on there and then smash it around, make sure it gets into every little nook and cranny that I can find. Obviously you're going to make sure that there's no air bubbles underneath it, so you'll see air bubbles pop up here, there and everywhere. And yeah, and then we just need to leave that to sit and cure and then we're good to go.
The cleanup on them is a nightmare.
So once again, after leaving that a good couple of days to fully cure, for the next stage I'm going to go in with a new sanding block and I'm going to go ahead and take off the top surface layer, and then that should roughly just leave the mortar in between the brickwork, making it all one piece. And then once that's done we can take it outside and I can hit it with at least 2 coats of a nice grey prime. Okay guys, so I went ahead and we've fixed up a few little imperfections. Same again with wood filler. And for the next stage, so Medusa herself is going to go here, so you'll see her in a moment. And then we need something in this corner here, and we need something big to take up this majority here. And that is where this comes in. So this was sent to me via a viewer of the channel a few years back. And this originally was going to be on another build, but that build ended up not happening. So I thought I'd keep it to use again, and this is going to be perfect. So as you can see here, it is a warrior that went to kill Medusa. Medusa saw him first, he saw Medusa. She did her thing, and now he's petrified into a stone statue. So as you can see here, this is from the old geometric diorama that you could buy. It's made of vinyl, but I've pre-filled it with plaster so it doesn't warp and lose its shape. And this is going to fit perfectly. So the idea is it's going to go here like this. So as you can see there, so the cape's going to drape just to the front here. Then we go around and then, if I don't knock it out of the way first. Then we've got the soldier's toes here, just leaning over, and then it comes around to the background here. Now obviously these like corners and stuff like that, we can fill them in with like bits of rubble and stuff like that. But for the main part, I'm going to go. So for the first part, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with some strong wood glue, paint the underside first, stick it in place. And then I'm going to use these various little screws to screw into key places where we can just model over that detail. And then that should help keep this secure to the base.
Get the idea.
Okay, so I know what you're thinking, Frank, where the hell is Medusa? You can't have a Medusa diorama without Medusa. And you would be correct, you can't. So yes, this is a part of the video when I introduce you to my model of Medusa. So this is originally the geometric kit. So I bought this 25 years ago, and then I started building it probably about 18 years ago, and then I got probably about 65% through painting her up, and then life happened and she got put in a box in a dark crawl space, and I've only just now got around to finding her, and as soon as I found her I thought, yep, I've definitely got to do this. So now that you know a general basic history of how she was built, let's crack on with the build. Okay, so there's Medusa, nicely dusted off and good as new. So in my right hand at the moment is another Spartan dead petrified warrior, basically from a plaster cast that I took a couple of years back. So as you can see there, he's looking up in shock and horror, and in order to set this in place, I'm going to go in with a 2-part epoxy, equal measures, fully mixed, and we can go ahead and add him to the bottom left hand corner of the base. Now I really like this little addition, because not only does it like take up the bottom left hand corner of the base, I also like the fact like it kind of tells a little bit of a story. So in my mind's eye, he's obviously she like killed him or turned him to stone like years ago, because his body is so badly damaged, like arms are gone and torso's gone. He's obviously been knocked over and smashed on the floor or something to a point. But I kind of like that, even though she's like, you know, where she stood in this diorama, even in death, he's still like looking up at her in fear, and I really like that touch. Okay, so for the next part now, I've got various bits of resin from old base that I wasn't using anymore, and I basically just smashed it up with a claw hammer, and this is just to mimic bits of like destroyed debris from like where the building's crumbling around. So in order to glue these in place, I'm just going to go in with some high strength adhesive. Okay, so for the next part now, we have a raised ledge over here that we need to blend in and hide. So in order to do that, I'm just going to go in with some milliput. So after leaving that a good few hours to fully cure and fully dry, for the next section we're going to go in with some PVA glue and some scenic sand scatter. Okay, so now that we've got our destroyed rubble from obviously a neglected old tomb, we need to go ahead and add some, I suppose, weather and damage to these cobble flooring, if you like, because it looks a little bit too new. So in order to do that, I'm just going to go in with one of these tools.
Soon after.
So as you can see there, that tool has done a great job at adding a lot of damage to these stones. So I know in the finished results we're probably not going to see all these details, but the more we add, I suppose the more we'll see later on. So regular viewers of this channel will know me, and I like a nice nameplate. So I went ahead into a software called Matter Control and I designed myself a simple nameplate that just says Medusa Clash of the Titans. And now that we have the STL file ready, let's get printing.
Three hours later.
So now that the 3D logo is printed, for the next stage I'm going to go ahead and take some measurements, basically just to find out where the dead center of this base is, and then line it all up, and then I'm going to go ahead and stick this in place with just some regular hot glue.
Alright.
And then it's back in the garden with a grey prime rattle can, and I'm going to go ahead and unify all this with a nice grey prime.
Yeah, baby, yeah!
So as you can see there, that grey prime has really unified this a whole lot, and now you can see a lot more detail. So we can't leave that there, so while we're already outside, I turned it, well, on its side, and then I decided to go in with some black to paint the bottom of the base. And after that dried, I was still feeling a little bit in the spray painty mood, as you do, and I decided to use the same black primer, and I went round the outside ridge of the base.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Okay, so for the next part I'm going to go in for black acrylic wash, and I'm going to go into getting all the nooks and crannies, and then we're going to gently mop up the excess with some kitchen towel. It's a messy job, but somebody's got to do it. So after masking it all off, for the next stage I'm going to go in with some London Grey from Model Colour. I'm going to go ahead with a makeup brush and add just a little tiny dab of it, and then give it a dry brush over. And for the next part after that, I'm going to go in with some surface primer from Vergeot, and then this is going to add a much lighter highlight. And lastly, same again, this time with some off-white from Game Colour. Okay guys, so for the next part now, I went ahead and I bought one of these, which is a resin printed column, which we see in the classic movie. These are normally on the top of the stairs in Medusa's lair, or a cave if you like. So thank you to my friend Paul for helping me locate this and helping me get this. So this should work beautifully. So I went ahead and did a quick test fit, and originally it was about 3mm too big. So what I did was apart from destroying it, what I did was I cut off 3mm off the bottom there. So this part we won't be needing, this part here we won't be needing. So all I need is this, and then obviously the top of the column. Now the top of the column, there's little drain holes, but unfortunately we're going to have to fill these ones in, because obviously we don't want these you know, standing out. So in order to fill this in, I'm thinking about trying to put some expanding foam in it. Okay, so I was thinking about having the main column roughly there, so Medusa's going to be here, and then obviously That's going to be there. Now, in order to keep this secure in place, I went ahead and cut a bit of dowel in. That is roughly the exact right diameter for the inside. It's like a millimetre or two, give or take, on the side. So the idea is, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of Yoo-hoo glue on the bottom of this. I've already pre-drilled a hole, so we can go ahead and add a long screw in later on. But for now, I'm just going to put some Yoo-hoo glue on that, and then put this naturally in place, and then I'm going to leave this to dry overnight. Okay, let's leave that to dry.
7 hours later.
Okay, so that seems nice and solid. So for the next stage, I'm going to go in with a long screw, and I'm going to go ahead and take our time, and we're going to screw this nice and securely into the base. Not going too deep, because obviously you don't want to like go straight through the bottom of the base. So just a few turns, and then that should make that nice and solid.
Perfect.
Okay, so as you can see there, guys, unfortunately there is beveling. So I've put this in a vise for a couple of days, hence why it's got this mark on it, to try and squash it down. But unfortunately, as soon as I take it back out of the vise, it just pops back up again. And once you actually nestle that shelf in place, this is booing a little bit. So it's if I put anything heavy on this shelf, it's more likely over time this shelf will probably crack or this will break. So yeah, not great. So I think the next stage is I might have to cut the top of this off.
One pair of pants later.
So now that we have the top now missing, for the next stage I'm going to go in with this piece of scrap wood that I had, or I found from a charity shop, and it's already got like a pre-beveled centre, so that should work a lot better than just a regular standard straight, you know, 90-degree edge, because obviously we have to submerge what we've still got from the column top inside this, so this should save me a couple of hours of work. So yeah, so just gonna take me time. I've already pre-measured like a centimeter on each side of the wooden base. So we're just gonna go in and we're just gonna chop those off. And now I'm gonna go in with the orbital sander, and we're gonna go ahead and smooth the inside of the pre-drilled out center groove. So once this is nice and smooth, this should submerge the top of that dome beautifully. And then after that, I then put it onto a belt sander, and we're going to go ahead and smooth the edges nice and straight. So now we have a nice 90-degree square.
I have a square!
So now that we've got our pre-drilled new base top, we're going to go ahead and submerge the column top in place. So I need to get this nice and centre bang on, and once I'm happy with it, we're going to go ahead with a clamp, and we're going to clamp it into place, and then I'm going to go in with a 2-part resin, and we're going to mix it thoroughly, and then we're going to go ahead and pour it into place and let it cure. Okay, so while that is curing, we might as well crack on with the main base. So I'm back into the main work studio, and I'm going to go ahead and flip this base 180 degrees, and we're going to go ahead and submerge it with some PVA glue, make sure it's into all the nooks and crannies, nicely evenly spread out. And then we're going to go in with some red felt, and we're going to go ahead and leave it to fully dry overnight. And then the next day we're going to go in with some sharp scissors, and we're going to go and trim off the excess to make this a nice displayed bottom.
Bottom.
And and then went in with like a black felt pen to get the nice crisp edges on the zigzags, and then later went in with black acrylic, and more weathering. And once it looked like something reminiscent from the movie, we then took it into the spray booth and we hit it with a nice matte varnish. Okay, so we need to try and draw some of this grey, because this looks like medieval kind of European kind of grey, if that makes any sense. I need it to be a little bit more like sandy colour highlights, but obviously we need to keep the soldiers like the same kind of grey as it is. So for the next stage I'm just going to go in with a dry brush of light brown from Model Air. Okay, so as you can see there, that's just the first undercoat tone, and already with it being like a sandy colour, it makes the victims stand out a whole lot more than it used to. So that's just phase one. So for the next phase I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go in with some maybe watered down green. Okay, so for the next stage I'm going to go in with a very dark green wash, and I'm just going to try and drip some of it in some of the key areas. And now I'm going to do the same step again, but this time with a little bit of brown. And for the next part we need to go in with more lighter tones. This time I'm going to go in with some basic skin tone from Model Colour. And for the next part I'm just going to go in with a little bit of brown acrylic. And now in with a little bit of acrylic red. And for the next part I'm going to go in with some copper from Model Air Metallics. So for the next part I'm going to go in with a watery black acrylic. So basically it just gets into, flows into all the little nooks and crannies very nicely. We'll leave that to dry. We will go in later on with proper normal black acrylic so we can thicken it up, so to speak, and make it more jet black. But seeing as it's like already watered down, I'm going to go ahead and dry brush like some kind of stainage to the dead soldier's cloak. And after that dried, I then went in with some more vibrant acrylic red, and we're going to go ahead and do a nice dry brush so we can highlight all the main surfaces of the cape. And yeah, once that is dried, that should make this look a lot more vibrant. So while we go ahead and leave that side of the diorama to fully dry, I might as well crack on with the other dead Spartan warrior and start laying some foundation colours to the various snakes around him. So while both sides are drying, we might as well crack on with the main nameplate. Now the overall idea that I've got is I want the Clash of the Titan lettering to be vibrant white, so I'm going to go in with just a white paint pen for those nice crisp line edges. And the actual name of Medusa and the little line under it, I kind of wanted that to represent her power of like turning things to stone. So we're going to go in and recreate that with various shades of greys, basically dry brushing up to like a very off-white. And yeah, and then we can go in and add all the little details like the little cracks, etc. And just to make it look like it's aged stone. And yeah, and then the only other thing I have to add after that is a nice metallic frame around it, drawing the eye to what the diorama is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then a quick dry brush of a gold on some parts of the armour. Now we don't want this to be too vibrant because obviously he's been neglected, you know, God knows how long he's been in Medusa's lair. So we just want to give a little bit of a hint that it once was like new and metallic and shiny, so we just a very small amount of dry brush will do the job. Now for the next bit, I'm going to go ahead and super glue this little fella over these rocks, basically just to break up this corner detail and make it a little bit more visually interesting. In order to do that, I'm just going to go in with high velocity super glue. Okay, so for the next part, now Medusa, not many people know this, but if you zoom in on her character, she does have remnants of her old natural hair as well as the snakes. So it seems that the hair colour was a bright ginger, so we're going to go ahead and recreate that. So what I did was I ended up painting some static grass little tufts, and as you can see here we have little tufts of ginger. So I'm going to go ahead with some tweezers and I'm going to carefully try to implement them into some key areas. Okay, as you can see there, I think that worked really well. And for the next stage, I'm going to go in with some gloss varnish. So it's at this point now I'm going to have to go in with the gloss varnish, and I'm going to have to paint Medusa from snake head to rattlesnake tail, so head to toe in other words, with gloss varnish. So I can't do it all in one go because obviously I need to hold onto the model. So we're going to go ahead and work on the top half first, leave that to dry, and then I'm going to go ahead and work on the snake body in two stages. So the back first, and then we're going to end with the front.
Oh my god! Wow!
So while we'll go ahead and wait for Medusa to fully dry, I might as well crack on with some excess details that I want to add to this diorama. So I'm going to go ahead, and I got one of these long plastic, rubber snakes. So I went ahead and repainted it a more jazzier colour, and I want this basically to go over the back side of the diorama. So basically the back of the dead Spartan's cape, so it basically breaks up the detail. So the idea is going to be slivering on the like destroyed cape, but the back of the tail is going to be wrapped around where the column sits. So I hope that made sense.
What?
Okay, so for the next part we need to go ahead and we need to start attaching the arrow and the quiver to Medusa's back. And once the quiver was nicely glued, I went in with a little thin strip of, I think it's leather, and just super glued it to one end of the quiver, and then basically a little bit on her body, and then draped it around, and then let that dry. And then once that had dried and was nice and taut, and then finished with just super gluing it to the top of the quiver, and then that makes a nice strap. Okay, so for the next part we need to go ahead and get this arrow in place, but before we go ahead and do that we need to add the string to the bow. So I'm just going to go in with normal white cotton. Okay, so the next part's going to be rather tricky because we need to go ahead and add super glue to the back of this, and then get this on in there at the right exact point, and then we also need super glue on edge of here as well. So yeah, there's a lot that could go wrong with this step. Okay, at first glance that worked rather well. So I'll just leave the glue to dry and then we'll snip off these ends. For the next part we're going to go ahead and add some super glue to the metal pegs, and we're going to carefully put Medusa in her place. And the last thing to do is to add another snake, but this time a coiled up one that I 3D printed, and once that's glued in place, I believe this diorama is done. Okay guys, so here it is, all finished, and I have to admit I think it turned out really nice. And yeah, thank you for watching the video. If you've enjoyed this video, please slap the like button, share on Facebook and X, because it helps new people find the YouTube channel, which I'm always appreciative. Thank you for any help. If you have any comments, comment below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. If you haven't already, smash that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future builds, and we have got some really cool stuff in the works. And the channel's current goal is to get to 3,000 subscribers, and as you can see, we're almost there, and I can only get there with your help. So thank you very much. And if you want to be a legendary viewer, please take 5 minutes, check out my Patreon page, where with your help and support we can do these builds full time, which means a lot more content for you guys and a lot more work for me. So all that being said, I'm Francis Gray, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next build.